when you talk about diversity and inclusion, the diversity part is the people. The inclusion is the attitude that the institution has. They have to be willing to look at somebody and say, just because you are different doesn't mean you can't be a part of this. Yeah, I grew up in Killeen, Texas, Harker Heights, Texas. They're two cities that sit next to each other. It's a military town. Fort Hood Army base is right there. And even though I lived in a military town, it was not something that was on the forefront of my mind. I never really sat down and made a plan. I think I graduated and I had a job working at an arcade. Great job for a teenager. I got to play video games and eat candy from the prize section, for 4 to 8 hours a day. One day, during the lunch hour, a group of Navy recruiters walked into the arcade, and they were dressed in their all-white uniforms. It was like, how do y'all eat anything, without getting ketchup or soda or whatever on those uniforms? And I'm pretty sure they had got this question before, because they came back and said, well, come over to the recruiting station and we'll tell you how. And so I make my way over there one time, and no one's there. And so I start walking away, and then Air Force recruiter pulls up and said, hey, you don't want to go to the Navy anyways. Come talk to the Air Force. And that's how I decided to join the Air Force. That's all the thought that went into it. I mean, if the Coast Guard would have pulled up, I probably would have been, in the Coast Guard. I couldn't even swim at that time. I can barely swim now, so I don't know if I would have ended up making it anyways. I might have been kicked out. Did that, went to school, got a job working for the military. And what I did there basically could be summed up as Boys and Girls Club director for military programs. When I got to Japan, I was still doing the same thing, working with youth. And we used to send teens to these camps. And I was interviewing these kids, and all the kids that normally apply to this, they had their head on straight. They knew what they wanted to do. They had plans for their careers. And, for me, it was kind of interesting. I'm, 20 some odd years old, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I'm interviewing a 17-year-old kid. He's like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer. My dad's a lawyer. My dad's a judge, matter of fact. And I want to go to this law school. And, I want to get this on the LSAT. I was like, huh, what is the LSAT? He's like, aren't you supposed to be interviewing me? I was like, yeah, you're good for the camp. Don't worry about that. Tell me about the LSAT. What is that? And that's kind of when I thought, maybe I'll be a lawyer. And so, I was fortunate. I got into, some good schools, wound up going to the University of Florida 11 College of Law.
Dion and I met at what they call OCI, which is kind of, you go to the campuses of the individual law schools and you interview the students as they're starting to come out of their maybe second year or third year. We were looking for some great talent, and the minute he walked in the room, you just knew he was an absolute superstar. So he has, the head of the trial team and all of these accolades on his resume, plus the military background, plus, he's moved around the country, he lived in Japan. He had a bunch of different experiences and life experiences that kind of put him ahead.
Having people with different experiences, backgrounds, education, geography, where they grew up, is tremendously important, because at the end of the day, that's the business we're in. We're in the communication business. We communicate to the court, we communicate with clients, we communicate with each other, and having people of similar background and experience to relate to each other clearly makes it more beneficial for both sides.
I'm diverse because I was in the military, because I'm a first-generation college grad, because I'm Black. And all of those things are important to the firm. And of course, all of those things are important to me. And so to be a part of an institution that embraces all of that, regardless of what you look like, regardless of how you grew up, you're accepted because of who you are and the merit of yourself. I think that's what we want. And with that, I think being able to switch up, code switch, as they say, is a valuable tool. And I don't think it should always be considered a negative, because some people do. They think that it shouldn't be that a young Black person or a young Hispanic person or a young Asian American or a young Muslim person should have to change who they are to fit into a profession. And I agree. I think if you really talk about diversity and you really talk about what it means embracing people as they come and being willing to accept, not necessarily like, not necessarily love, some of their traits about them, but willing to respect it and understand that it's different from you. And that difference is not something that's a negative. That's what we need really in this country, and specifically to the legal profession. I think we would be better, and we will be better, because of firms like Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, and the attorneys and the staff who push for that type of diversity and inclusion.